Well, hello, Lions. My name is Lion Daniel Marney Elkins, and today I'm here to talk to you about the power of partnerships. Before I begin, I would just like to take a moment to congratulate each and every single individual involved in the process of planning this truly imaginative and innovative convention. Just because that we are forced to work in a virtual setting, limited by a virtual box, does not mean we have to think inside of the box. And having seen the things that are planned for this day of learning and celebration of fellowship, I am truly honored to be able to be a part of it. So let's get right down to business. So, who am I? My name is, as I mentioned, Lion Daniel Marney Elkins. I am the charter president of the Bellefonte Lions, which was a club that was chartered in District 22D in the state of Delaware. I am a new club development consultant for Lions Clubs International. I am the founding member of Lions Virtual, and I proudly serve as the second vice district governor of District 22D. Before I really get into the presentation, I do want to note that this is not a lecture. It's a discussion. Conversations matter. I want to hear from you. And while this might currently be a one-sided dialogue, I hope that we can connect. Whether or not it's through social media or through the chats or at a future event, I hope that we can meet each other and talk about these concepts and ideas, because this conversation will hopefully be a starting point for a shared lifelong dialogue between us all, because we can all learn from each other. Which brings us to the starting point. There's a very famous quote by Helen Keller, the woman who inspired lions to become knights of the blind. And she said, "Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much." And this is the very same woman who asked us to constitute ourselves as knights of the blind in the crusade against darkness. And Lions listened and answered her call. And since 1925 have been serving as Knights of the Blind. And although I have heard this quote often mentioned in connection with lions, I often ask myself, have we truly answered this call? Because alone, as lions, we can do so little. But together with our community, with partnerships with other organizations, we can do so much. So, what do I mean by partnerships? Well, a partnership by any other name: connections, relationships, an alliance, a collaboration, a cooperation, an association, affiliation, a union. Too often within our communities, organizations that may share very similar goals operate in silos, isolated from each other. If we are serving our communities on our own and are neglecting the opportunity to partner with organizations that share a similar mission and goal, we may be in fact doing a disservice to the people in need within our community. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. So why partnerships? And community partnerships specifically. Community partnerships build our capacity to serve. They increase our ability to meet the needs of those within our community, and they allow us to leverage resources so that we can partner with others and just a little bit goes that much further because it becomes a shared initiative. Let me show you a couple examples of this during the course of my presentation. And I hope that you begin to think to yourself, what partnerships exist within our community? So, teamwork makes the dream work. My club, the Bellefonte Lions, formed as a branch club of the Claymont Lions in March of 2017. We started with 5 members. We chartered as our own club in March of 2018 with 68 members, and we now have 130 members. So how did we do that? How did we go from 5 members to 130 members? Well, it's simple. We started with making a list. When we were a club of just 5 members, we sat down and we began to write down the names of any organization within a 10 or 15-mile radius of our service area who shared a similar mission to what we wanted the mission of our club to be. In our case, the mission of our club is serving the youth in our community. So we wrote down the names and contact information for every single nonprofit that served the youth, every single church that had a youth group, every single Boy Scout troop, Girl Scouts, everyone who served the youth. And then we proceeded to reach out to them one by one. And instead of asking them to join us, we asked them when their next event was. When was the next thing that they were doing for the community? And when they told us, we put on our yellow vests and we went out and we volunteered for them. And we volunteered our hearts out. We worked hard. And invariably, at the end of every day, that we were out partnering with another organization by volunteering for them, they would ask us, well, who are you people? Well, we're the Lions. What do Lions do? Well, we serve. How can we get you guys to come back to our next event? Well, why don't you come to our next meeting and tell us all about it? And we can talk about how our organizations can partner together. And an amazing thing happened. They saw what Lions were. We didn't tell them, we showed them through our service, through our partnership and supporting our shared mission between our 2 organizations. And as a result, they wanted to join our club, because they realized the benefit and value to our community that came out of us working together. So here is a list, and this isn't even a full complete list, I ran out of space, of the Bellefonte Lions community partners, starting with 5 members. We formed a partnership with the county government, specifically speaking, the Newcastle County Community Outreach Department. And with them, we worked with their outreach specialist to provide programming to youth within our community. And through the course of that, ended up recruiting both of their community outreach specialists who saw the good work that we were doing in the community. And from that partnership, have had a host of resources and opportunities for not only just our club, but then the youth that we serve that became our Leo Club to participate in. We partnered with our local police department, the Newcastle County Police Department. And we ended up working with them to host an event called the Police and Princess Ball. And I will be talking about that event in my presentation later this afternoon when it comes to serving the youth in the community. That's a great example of how you can use a partnership to do that. but we ended up recruiting people out of that partnership as well. We partnered with our local community centers. Our community centers in our area were lacking in having a volunteer base. And as part of that partnership, we provided volunteers to the community center and helped run that community center's bingo and support them in all that they do. And as a result, many of the people who work at those community centers decided to join our club, and we were able to serve more people in our community. The same story with our daycare centers. We volunteered and made a partnership with people at the daycare centers to read to the children. And some of the people who worked at the daycare centers joined us. We partnered with the local civic association to do community cleanups, and we would show up, and they had an event called Unity in the Community Day, in which Lions came out and supported and had a table which had information not only just about our Lions Club, but about all of the services that were available in our community. And as a result, got a lot of buy-in from the community that we serve, because they saw us out there picking up trash, working with their local civic association. We partnered with the volunteer fire department. That's where we have our pancake breakfast, but not only just using their hall in order to have our fundraiser at. When it comes time to have Christmas celebration, our local fire company, the Brandywine 100 Fire Company, sends out trucks that ride all throughout the community, that Santa rides the back of the fire truck. And the Lions would go out and volunteer to help pass out candy to all of the children that came out. Great PR. The children in our community equate Lions with Santa Claus. We partnered with local places of worship, and we supported them in their initiatives like a toy drive for the poor children in our community. And as a result, when the pandemic struck and we needed a place to be able to continue serving, the churches opened up their doors to us and allowed us to use their kitchen to cook for the homeless and those in need during the time of the pandemic. Because of that partnership, and members of those churches joined our club. We partnered with a community farm, a local community garden that had expanded to become a community farm producing fresh produce, and we volunteer with them to help take care of their garden, and then also to deliver the farm co-op boxes during the course of the pandemic. And the director of that community farm joined our Lions Club. You should be beginning to see a theme. We partnered with a drug prevention coalition, an organization that is dedicated to combating the substance abuse disorder within our community and help keep our children from becoming drug addicts. And through our partnership with them, we help them pass out information in our communities. We do an event called Red Ribbon Week in October, in which we make sure that the parents and the youth in our communities, when they come out to our events, they take a pledge to lead a drug-free life, and we pass out information for that drug prevention coalition to help raise awareness about the dangers of substance abuse and what parents can do to have conversations with their children about such things. And as a result, members of those drug prevention coalitions joined our club. We partnered with an art museum and an art teacher at that art museum, and ended up having the youth that we work with and serve as part of a LEO program begin to do art classes, and had the opportunity to have an art show at the art museum, which then brought additional people and parents out to see that art museum, helping them fulfill their mission, but at the same time, empowering the youth that we served. And people from that art museum joined our Lions Club. We partnered with other civic associations like the Eagles Club And the Eagles Club does a Red Cross event blood drive every year, and we help support them by raising awareness, and we go and we donate blood. And as a result, members of that Eagles Club joined our Lions Club. We partnered with the state government through information dissemination about COVID and the vaccine, and information on how to get the vaccine, and information on how to stay safe during the pandemic. And because some of those people who worked for state government were grateful, they joined our Lions Club. We partnered with the federal government on grants that we had gotten through the partnerships we had created with all of the other entities and organizations having listed before, and that help support and fund programs within our community. We partnered with a local hospital to raise awareness. They have a health ambassador program, and which raises awareness in the community for young mothers about how to take care of their babies, and then also about some of the dangers from various health disparities that exist within those communities. We partnered with local businesses, local print shop, and help them get business by printing all of our flyers through them. But then B, that print shop wanted to do a 5K, and we helped have people run in the 5K to raise money for a charity that people from that local business cared about. And we partner with our local grocery stores. Once a month, we do a fresh food giveaway, in which we collect the food that is nearing the expiration date from our local grocery stores, and then have a food giveaway in which members from our community come out and we distribute the food. This is what I mean by alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Helen Keller was right. You see, had we not had these partnerships, we wouldn't have even had begun to dream of doing the type of service we do in our community. And our club would not have grown the way that it has grown. So that's all well and good. There's a club that has a lot of partnerships. But you might be asking yourself, how do we get there from where we are now, from here, where our club may not have many partnerships? We may not know how to go about establishing those partnerships. So the foundation of success is something known as asset-based community development. It's called the ABCDs of community development. And what do I mean about asset-based community development? Well, these are the foundational truths of ABCD. One, it is the realization that everyone has gifts, no matter who they are, no matter what the institution is. There is something that they have of value that can help uplift a community. Two, everyone has something to contribute. We just have to find ways in which to give them opportunities to contribute. And three, everyone cares about something, and that passion is his or her motivation to act. And that also applies to organizations. They care about something. They have a mission. So does their mission fall in line with the mission of Lions Clubs International? Well, what is the mission of Lions Clubs International? It is the mission of Lions Clubs International to empower volunteers to serve their communities, to meet humanitarian needs, to encourage peace and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs. That's a pretty broad mission statement, although a wonderful one. I think you might find, if you start to look for commonalities, there are many organizations that might fall with a similar mission that can meet some aspects of the Lions Club mission. So the foundational truths of asset-based community development is recognizing that those organizations and individuals within your community that might be future potential partners all have something that if you work together, you can help uplift a community with. So how do you do that? All right, here are the 5 steps. One, you do something called mapping assets. The way you map assets within your community is you sit down and you begin to create a list of all of the potential resources within that community. Very similar to making the list that we did when we were just a club branch. You talk about all the people who have resources that are offered. You talk about all the people who have programs that are offered. You talk about all the people who and organizations who have interests and or missions that are similar to yours, and begin to create a map of your community, of what is available within your community. Two, you begin to build relationships with those individuals. And much like my story from earlier, you begin to reach out to them and begin to build those relationships. And you get out of partnerships what you give. So if you are starting and trying to start a partnership and expecting them to do all the work to start with, well, it's not going to be a very successful partnership. Don't tell them who lions are, show them through your service, because that's what we do better than anybody. So, 3, once you have mapped your assets and you have begun to build relationships, you begin to mobilize for a development and information sharing. So sometimes it could be just as simple as, what resources do you have? Does your organization have? We can make sure every time we have a Lions event, every time we have a pancake breakfast, every time we have a white cane day, we will have a little table that has all of the resources that are available in our community. And then instantly, all of a sudden, Lions become a source of information. People might even begin to specifically come out to your events because they know not only will they get the best, tasting pancakes in the county, they will also get information about resources that their family or people that they know who are in need might use. 4, you convene the community to develop a vision and a plan. So you invite those partners to a table. Now, I recommend that that table is not necessarily your club meeting, because club meetings may not be the best place to initially bring outsiders, but set aside a partnership meeting. Set aside something where you invite multiple partners to the table and everybody sits down and talks about how they can work together. And once you do that, step 5 is you leverage outside resources, all of those extra resources that we've been talking about gathering, to drive the local development, to help support the community development that you'll be doing, because all of a sudden everything you do in that community will be supported by more resources, even if it's just information, potentially volunteers. I've found that if I go and volunteer for somebody, they are much more likely to come and volunteer for us if we do so. So once you've done that, how do you implement? Well, the first of all is you include. You need to challenge everyone to be a leader, because it's not necessarily just partnerships with institutions or businesses. Sometimes it could be partnerships with a local art teacher or a basketball coach or somebody who has a passion and a gift that they want to share with their community. I often tell the story of how we ended up with so many programs for the youth that we serve. And in each and every single one of those cases, I did asset mapping. And we discovered that someone had gifts or talents. And from identifying those gifts and talents, whether or not it was the fact that they were a boxing coach, I would walk up to them and say, "Your passion is boxing. Excellent. That's exactly what Lions do." "Really?" "Well," you take out a club application, pass it to them and say, "Well, they do now. You see, we would like to support you in what you do. We're not asking you to do anything extra. We're in fact offering to partner with you to help you do what you're doing, as long as it's serving our community and meeting a need." While doing this, begin to collect stories, draw out people's experiences to uncover their gifts, skills, talents, and the abilities of the individuals within your community or the organizations within your community. Ask people what they are passionate about. That's one of the first best steps possible to forming a partnership with them. Find out what motivates them. So, this brings us to a philosophical viewpoint, and it's an interesting one. The difference between a needs based and an asset based approach to community service. A needs based approach focuses on deficiencies. It focuses on what's wrong with a community or what's wrong in a community, what the need is, what's wrong. The people become consumers of the service. You are helping the people in need. We are giving to the needy. How often have you heard those terms? Community members observe as issues are being addressed. It's the Lions who are screening those in need of, help with their vision. And the members of the community are grateful, but they are watching someone else do it. That's the needs-based approach. That is the model upon which Lions Clubs International has built its rock of service. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be clear. But there is a different philosophical approach that one can take. And that is an asset-based approach to community service, in which you focus on effectiveness. Instead of necessarily looking for what is wrong with the community, you look for what the potential within that community is. What are the resources that can be developed to meet other needs? In that case, because you are identifying people as potential assets or organizations as potential assets, they become the producers of service, working in partnership with your Lions Clubs. And in that way, you end up having community members, those people who may have gifts, like being a basketball coach or an art teacher. They are empowered to help serve others, which brings us to the old saying, where there is a need, there is a lion. I would like to update that saying. Where there is an asset, there is a potential new lion. By identifying the assets and resources within your community, the potential partnerships within your community, you are quite literally identifying the future lions within your community. And if you are willing to take the steps necessary in order to form those partnerships, to put in the work required to build the relationships, you will discover that you have increased the capacity of not only meeting the needs within your community, but also probably increase the membership of your club while doing so. Let me give you a direct example of how this happens. Some of you may have heard me tell the story of the bike club. This is a picture of the bike club that we started with the youth in our community. We identified a need within the community. We asked the youth what they needed, and they said, well, we would like to ride bikes, and we do not have bikes. So we identified a need there. And we began to reach out within the community to see if there anyone who had bikes that they might be willing to donate for these youth to ride. And as a part of the deal that we made with the youth, we told them that they could earn their bikes if they came and they volunteered. For every hour that they would volunteer, they would get a point, and if they earned enough points, they would get a bike. And the incredible thing is, not only did every one of those youth earn their bikes, but then they also wanted to keep volunteering because they had been adopted into a culture of service and realized that volunteering and helping others was good. So this is how we established that partnership between the youth and also other organizations within our community. So this is the ABCDs, asset-based community development steps of our Lions Bike Club. 1, we identified the need. Lions noticed the lack of transport options in the neighborhood and heard from kids who wanted to ride bikes. We then began to asset map. We realized our community had kids interested in biking. We started to ask around and discovered that there were Lions who liked to bike. We realized that there was a meeting space at a local neighborhood house where the kids could meet to have a little bike club. We found someone who had a shed that we could use as a storage shed, which were the beginnings of our bike club. 2, we began to build relationships. We took the Lions who liked to bike and the local community outreach workers from the county who had said that they then wanted to help us with these kids. And we found a local bike nonprofit that would help fix up old bikes. And we discovered that the county had an annual race in which we could enroll youth into that race. We did information sharing, in this case, word of mouth, as we put the word out into the streets and recruited the 25 youth. We convened the community. We had a vision and a plan that was actually developed by the youth leadership as they learned to run a meeting and a club. So we taught them how to do Robert's Rules of Orders, and they had a president and a secretary and a treasurer, and we even got them vests. So as you can see, future Lions in training, as they convened the community with their vision on how to run this bike club. We leveraged resources. So we had donated bicycles. We partnered with a local nonprofit that had an American Lung Association grant, which in this case, it is a physical activity grant that promotes well-being and kids being active, and that helped provide a little bit of funding to get the vest for the kids. We had the community worker supports plus the Lion volunteers, so that was all of the resources. And there was unexpected benefits that came out of that. Our bike club members volunteered to earn their bikes, and then they turned into Leos. And those Leos, now years later, have turned into Lions. So here's the other way of looking at it. Where there's a need, you start to look, have your club members or staff at a local church, a community center, or school, are they aware of a local youth need or a current youth program that lacks volunteers? Ask around, find out if your community, if there's a situation in which people need volunteers. Start your asset mapping, gauge local interest surrounding that specific thing. Canvas both your club, you never know, you might find someone within your club that is passionate about this new potential project, as well as the community. You build relationships, you take interested Lions and community outreach workers and local nonprofits and begin to create a partnership between all of them. You get the word out to your community, and you need to find what works best in your community. So is it posters? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it radio PSAs, or is it word of mouth? You share information about this new service, and this could be anything. You could identify that you want to have an art club, a dance club, anything that might be helping the community. You then convene the community to support and empower leadership within this, whether or not it is youth leadership or leadership within the overall service to help run and develop the program. And then you leverage your resources. Lions Fund, plus perhaps potentially other nonprofits that you've brought in to partner with this. And the unexpected benefit from all of this, you will end up with new Lions Club members. This is a replicable model. It is evidence-based. It is used in community development all across the world by trained community development specialists. It is what the Bellefonte Lions use to help identify new service projects, to identify new community partners, to increase our capacity to serve, and then ultimately increase the membership within our district. That is the power of partnerships. There are 3 words that I use in absolutely everything that I do as a Lion, that my club uses in everything that they do as Lions. And that's the 3 magic words of in partnership with. When you are looking at a potential partnership, there's a thing called a partnership canvas, where you can begin to talk about what is the value that is created from that partnership. What will the result be of the value transfer between partnerships? So in the case of the bike club, the local bike nonprofit, that was part of their mission to be serving the community by helping fix bikes. Well, the value that was created was that we brought a whole bunch of youth to them that then were connected to their nonprofit and they could help. So there was value there. The value for us is that we didn't know how to fix bikes, and they stepped in and helped us learn and teach our children how to fix bikes. What is the value offered? What are you offering to the partner? And so we were offering a youth who could actually then also volunteer to help out that little small nonprofit. And desired value, what value is sought for in a partner? So if you're starting to look for partnerships, what are you looking to try and get out of that potential partner? And then how will the partner's values be connected and made mutually accessible? How will the things and the connections between you two be made possible? So you can actually Google partnership canvas and come across this. And it's a great little thought experiment to look at this. So questions to ask when forming a partnership: what can each prospective partner bring to the table? What stakeholders in your community have an interest in forming a partnership? Who might be willing to join your collaboration? Will your community support the partnership? Are other potential partners willing to share their resources and capacity? So they may not be willing to volunteer for your project, but do they have a space you could meet for at your project? Do they have something that they can help out just to have their name associated with something positive within the community? So the step-by-step guide: you need to create buy-in within your organization. It's important that your own Lions buy into this. Decide what level of partnership you want to create. Is it just a basic, you're sharing information? Are you coordinating on a project? Are you cooperating on a service activity? Are you outright collaborating on all levels, top to bottom? Create a community partnership committee. I think that's a very important thing, that every Lions Club, every district, every multiple district should have a community partnership committee. That's a chair that I don't know of any district that specifically has that. And that's something I think every district should have, someone whose role as a Lion is to begin to identify community partnerships. And you should identify the best people to invite new partners. There are some people that are good at making that first ask and making that connection. If you can find someone who's good at that, use them and ask them to be the one to form that. And very early on, define your goals and desired outcomes of what you want to do. Ultimately, keep it simple. The more simple it is, the easier the partnership will be. So, are you ready to get started? Are you ready for community-based participatory partnerships? Assess your readiness. Go back and listen to the steps. And if there are steps that you are missing, do those steps. Because as you move forward to go from stage one, assessing it, to going into stage two, how do you begin to do your asset mapping and all of those things? How do you connect with the community individuals? That will be the process that ends up with community partnerships. It is a helpful thing to know that in forming community partnerships, there is what is known as the 12-sector model, which is the idea that within every community, there are sectors: youth, parents, the business community, media, schools, youth-serving organizations, law enforcement agencies, religious or fraternal organizations, civic and volunteer groups, healthcare professionals, state, local, or tribal governmental agencies, and any agencies involved in reducing substance abuse, those drug prevention coalitions I mentioned earlier. All of those things represent the community. And the theory behind this sector representation is that if you can form partnerships with each and every single one of those sectors, if you can have a table, a community partnership table, in which every single one of those organizations or someone representing those organizations is sitting down at that table, there is no problem. There is no need within your community that you cannot solve. This is what it looks like when you start to do that. These are all people who come from different community partnerships. The two gentlemen in the middle in the back are the Newcastle County Community Outreach specialists. Standing immediately to their right, my left, is a woman from the local church. To my other side is an individual from an organization that does healthcare, passing it out. These are youth from various different community groups that have all come together because of the connections and the partnerships that exist. And these then became our Leos and Lions. How do you maintain a partnership? Well, keep calm, and as you grow, know your limits. You don't have to go from 0 to 60 right away. Learn how to build, because if you take time building, they will become sustainable partnerships. As you do so, always make sure to promote your activities. Build upon the successes of your partnerships and programs by using social media to tell your story, because as you begin to tell the story of all the partnerships that you have, other potential partners will see that and want to come sit at your table and increase the capacity of your club to serve the community. So, to sum it all up, to wrap it all up in a bow, here is an example. This is the Wilmington Public Library. This is in Wilmington, Delaware, which is in District 22D. And we decided to reach out to them and ask what their needs were. And we talked to an individual by the name of Carl Shaw, who was their community outreach director. And he said, well, thank you for calling. We do have needs of a volunteer. There is a program that we are working on, and it's called Barbershop Books. And the idea is that we are going to build bookshelves and put them in every single barbershop in our city. And we are going to stock them with books from the library so that barbershops, which in Wilmington, Delaware, are a place for a community hub of social gathering, people will be able to get those books because they may not be able to make it down to the library. So we are going to make sure that those books get into the hands of children and community members. But we don't have the people to help build those. We have to build a whole lot of bookshelves. So might you be willing to come down and help us? Well, of course, we're Lions. We serve. This is the result. And I would like to point out that this was a video made by the Wilmington Public Library, not us. They put it out on their social media celebrating the power of partnerships, and in the process promoted Lions.
The Wilmington Library would like to thank the Bellefonte Lions and Leos Club for coming out to help build the shelves for the Barbershop Books initiative. And now, Bellefonte Lions Club President Daniel Elkins.
The model of the Lions Club is we serve, and wherever there's a need, there's a lion. And in our communities, there is most certainly a need, especially when it comes around to helping develop the youth of Wilmington into being the future leaders of Wilmington. And as someone myself, while growing up, I was always blessed to be in a household that was surrounded by books. And that is not the case in most households these days. So an initiative like the Barbershop Books Initiative, which actually puts books directly into the communities, into the places where the community members go on a regular basis, I think is an important step in order to help sort of develop the minds of the youth in our city.
Bellefonte Lions Club Secretary Jessica Graham.
The other side to this is that it's actually a lot of fun. Sometimes people think, they sign up to volunteer, they think, oh, it's another commitment, oh, I gotta go volunteer after work. But the point is you get there and you're like, oh, right, this is actually the highlight of my week. So, yeah, important to remember.
And it's even better when the youth are actually involved in making the difference.
Hi, my name is Marney Elkins. I am the secretary of Leos Club. How I joined this community was about I'm part of the Leos because I like working with other people.
I'm here this evening to do some service, and I'm honored to come to the library and put bookshelves together.
It is an honor to come here and be part of the library initiative for the barbershop, getting books out for the kids out in the community. It's wonderful to see everyone coming together to help out. We enjoy being here, and we would like to continue coming and helping out in any way we can.
This is your new Wilmington Library, spreading knowledge, literacy, and information throughout the community. The Wilmington Library and the Bellefonte Lions Club, where community happens.
And that voice was the voice of Carl Shaw, who was the director of community outreach for the Wilmington Public Library, and is now Lion Carl Shaw, because we didn't tell him about Lionism. We showed him through our partnerships. So that is the power of partnerships. Thank you for your time and consideration. Feel free to contact me at danielelkins78@gmail.com. Thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you for your leadership and service as Lions. Keep serving.